Welcome, crazed Phin fans, to the initial episode of Larry L's observation of all things Miami Dolphins. Well, this is a slow period of time. This is my initial show. I will be showing this show on a recorded basis on Finn's Fans Panel channel. And for you guys there, if you have not subscribed, I'm going to drop the link in the comments section for you guys to subscribe. So, guys, this show is about, as you can see, Mike Gesecki. Should the Dolphins extend Mike Gesecki? Now, as many of you might realize, I have of the belief that the Dolphins would not have signed Cedric Wilson if they knew they were going to get Tyreek Hill. Why wouldn't they have? Because they created a little dilemma once they signed Tyreek Hill. That is sharing the snaps across the board. Now, if you might recall, I did a show where how many target. I'm sorry, I said stat. I always say that targets. There's so many targets. For example, guys, that the Dolphins have. For example, let's say the Dolphins offense is a little more high powered this year. Last year we had what under 550 passing snaps. That mean let's say that goes up a little bit because our offense is more high power. It goes up to 600 snaps. That means there's 600 snaps, 600 potential targets that must be spread out among all the eligible receivers. So going by last year's number, I did a show about that, right? Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle each got 140 or more snaps. So let's say high powered, they get 150 snaps. No reason for me to think they won't get that. They didn't bring Tyreek Hill and pay him one of the highest paid wide receivers not to throw him the football. And Waddle, of course, should benefit being a number two person there. So let's say it's 150 each, right? Very reasonable to expect that, guys. That's 300 targets out of a potential 600 to two wide receivers. That leaves 300 snaps to the other eligible receivers, include tight ends, wide receivers, running backs. Two of them. So my feeling is the Dolphins would not have signed Cedric Wilson because they would have been content to extend Gesicki out and play him in the slot. Larry, you're whistling Dixie. Eight guys, you know that, right? It's been in our show. It's been stated in the others. 85% of Gesicki's snaps were from the slot, not tight end. He's not a freaking tight end. No matter what the title says, no matter what the Dolphins tell you, he's not a tight end. Not when you get 85% of snaps in the slot. Now, when Cedric Wilson comes in, well, 90% of Cedric Wilson's snaps were from the slot as well. That's where he's most effective at. So now you got a dilemma here. You only have so many snaps in the slot, and you got two plays. That's not to mention that occasionally Waddle or Tariq Hill and Lynn Bowden or anybody else that makes the team can also play in the slot. So, what are the Dolphins going to do? Where the starting point is. What are the Dolphins going to do? So how does Cedric Wilson plays into this, whether they should franchise tag or not? That is the problem. Finding him the snaps. You're not going to pay a tight end close to $15 million a year, which I believe is what tight end market might demand right now. Even not, go lower, even go 13. You're going to pay $13 million a year to a part-time football player because you have Cedric Wilson. You're not. The Dolphins are not going to pay that. I guarantee you that for a part-time player, no matter how dynamic. And how dynamic is Gesecki? Really, we're going to look into that because I'll tell you a preview. He's not as dynamic as you clowns think he is. He's not. He's spectacular, yes. I mean, we all see that, right? He's spectacular. We all see those one-handed grabs of his, right? Spectacular. But usually they were from 5 yards or 10 yards, right? He doesn't have yards. You're going to see the stats. Doesn't have yards after the catch. He only has two freaking touchdowns for a tight end with all those physical ability to leap high, to catch one-handed, and all that stuff. He only had two touchdowns last year. That is unacceptable for a tight end in a high-powered offense. So What are the Dolphins going to do? I have been of the belief, guys, that the Dolphins would accept a trade if the offer is to their liking. Right now, even before training camp, even during training camp, even before the start of the season. But I believe ultimately, if they're going to decide to trade him, it's going to happen in November, around the November trade deadline. Why? Let's think this out, guys. What positives could the coaching staff have by keeping Mike Gesecki until the last minute? Well, first of all, they can get a better feel of Gesecki, how they're going to utilize him. Maybe they got a better feel of Cedric Wilson. Even Cedric Wilson comes into this equation. That's what a lot of people out there are not talking about. Whether the keep or tag or keep or let Mike Gesecki walk or trade him depends a lot on Cedric Wilson as well. I'm telling you guys, right? Cedric Wilson, and we're going to look at that guy stat for stat because they're both basically slot receivers. So you got one you already signed for a nice contract. Now you're going to sign another one, in essence, be a part-time player. But they want to, I get it. It's a perfect up. Nothing wrong with having depth until the last minute, guys. But honestly, believe if there's an offer out there that the Dolphins to the liking, they will make the trade. What would be to the Dolphins' liking? It's sending Mike Gesecki and a fourth round pick for a second round pick. I don't think you're going to get a straight out second round pick for Gesecki. That way, you may have to sweeten it with a fourth round pick, and the Dolphins get a premium pick out of that. Maybe send it a fourth and a sixth because it is a premium pick. Yeah, Dolphins will probably jump all over that and take that. I would. I would. It could be possible that they don't send a fourth round pick, but put a conditional pick, like a conditional third that could be a second based on some uh, factors, like how much production they get out of him. I could see that too. I don't think the Dolphins or any team want to put conditional on there. I think they want the pick outright. So what happens if the Dolphins don't get that offer? I think the Dolphins would be content to start the season with him. Why? Because it gives them a chance to see how Gesecki will fit in this offense, right? Hey, maybe injuries happen to a receiver. One of the receivers are going to be out for an extended period of time. It happens in the NFL. And if he's in house right now, great. You have a more outstanding depth to deal with. But ultimately, it's about seeing how dynamic he could be in this offense. Personally, guys, I've said it along, and I'll say it again, right? You guys, I think, overrate the dynamicism of Mike Gesecki because you see this. You see this. No. You want a dynamic wide receiver? That's Cedric Wilson, who's capable of taking those same routes that Gesecki run, catches it, and then take it to the house. That's what we're looking for, a dynamic wide receiver. The ones that can bust off a long play from a basically short pass. That is not Gesecki. That is Gesecki. I'll catch anything thrown my way. Low, high, over my head, between my legs. I'll catch whatever's there. And it can be spectacular at times doing that. But it the most productive that you get out of the slot receiver? No, it's ultimately the game's about scoring. And the Cedric Wilson's ability to score from your own 10 or the offense's 10-yard line would make a big factor in giving Cedric Wilson the heads up on the job. So, guys, that is what I believe will happen, guys. With Gesecki, I think they're gonna wait and see what happens. So, Larry, let's take a look at the stats. Okay, yeah, come on, guys, let's take a look at it. Okay, so let me bring that up for you guys because this is what I'm saying. They're So Cedric Wilson's no slouch, guys. That's the reason he got a nice contract. He's no slouch. He's not going to just give up snaps to Mike Gesecki. Gesecki's not giving up snaps. They both got to earn it. So let's take a look at Gesecki's snap. He had 112 targets last year. I guarantee he's not going to get 112 because he was basically a number two option for most of the year. He is not the number two option in this team. It's going to be Waddle and Tyreek Hill, and by a wide margin. They're going to get the top snaps. So yards in the air. Gesecki average depth of target yards before the catch was 7.7 yards. Now, what is interesting, guys? Remember, guys, I talk about Gesecki, and I don't think Tua's ever been comfortable with Gesecki. You guys stated, oh, Gesecki was a more favorite target of Fitzpatrick. The yards before the catch basically tells me pot that potentially this is support in that theory. Look at the yards before the catch in 2021, 7.7. In 2020, it was 10.1. In 2019, it's 8.0. Who was the quarterback the majority of the time that he got the 10.1 to 8.0? Who? Hint. A guy with a big beard. I've said it all along. I don't think Gesecki was. I don't think Tua was ever. It is my opinion, based on what I see. It's not a fact, right? Nobody will know until Tua honestly answers up front. I don't think Gesecki was ever a favorite of Tua because Tua's an accuracy quarterback. Part of it relies on receivers that run their routes properly. And if you have any doubt about a receiver running properly, you generally are not going to be your favorite receiver. That's a stat that shows that's a real potential issue with these two. 7.7 yards before catch. Now, again, that in itself doesn't mean that because we know it's a short, but when he had 10.1 with Fitzpatrick, hmm, wow. So, guys, that's an interesting stat there. Then you look across the board, right? We all know we only broke one tackle last year. Um, Drops 2.7, very solid on catch. This is something I want to keep an eye. Look at again, Tua's may not be comfortable. Or you're gonna say Tua's the back quarterback, better a worse quarterback than Fitzpatrick. I'm saying Tua's not comfortable. Look at the passer rating in 2021 when he played primarily with Tua and Brisket, right? Now you guys got to be saying Brisket, Brissett, 80.2. The previous year, 97.3, 85.9. Who what was the main difference between those two? One of the main difference is the beard. It's the guy with the beard who will throw it to him, but use the don't worry about it. You don't throw great routes. I'm just gonna throw it high. I'm gonna throw it long. I'm gonna throw it all. I'm just gonna throw it between three people. You go ahead and catch it. Don't worry about it. That is not Tua. Oh, well, Tua should be. No, that's not his game. Matter of fact, that's what kept Fitzpatrick the journeyman because if you're going to play that style, you better have a Hollister for an arm. And he never did. So I want you to keep in mind that 80.2, and as well as these other stats 112 targets, 7.7. I'm going to bring up Cedric Wilson's stats. Okay. Let me move up a little bit here. So Cedric Wilson was targeted only 61 times. Yet he had 602 yards. 602 yards. Out of Gesecki had what, 780 out of 112 targets? More than double. No, almost double targets than what Cedric Wilson. Yeah, Cedric Wilson's more of a home run hitter. Exactly right. Now, interesting. Again, it's the same thing. Yards in the air before the catch, 7.7. Same thing as Gesecki. Yet he got more yardage overall because he's a better run after the catch. Yards in the air, 9.5. I forgot what Gesecki did. Broken tackle, he only had one. He had none last year. Not his game as well. He did average a little higher drops at 4.9. That's not good. However, this is the key factor right there. Passer rating of the quarterback when they targeted him, 130.6. 130.6. The year before that, in his rookie year, the second year when he wasn't utilized as much, 89.7. That's Gesecki's best year, 89.7, I believe. He had 130.6. Oh, by the way, he could rush and he could throw the football. So, what does the stats tell me, guys? That Cedric Wilson is a more dynamic football player. That you cannot question based on purely on the stats. So, having said that, how can Gesecki without the job? He's got to be a better blocker. He's got to take away snaps from Durham Smythe and Hunter Long as the pure tight end. Because if he's the only tight end and he's still blocking very poorly, that's telegraphing to the teams you're going to run past the football. You're not going to run. You get away with that. Oh, well, people were saying, no, they went double tight end. They were telegraphing when they dumped. Hell no. Gesecki was a freaking slot receiver. He was not a running slot receiver. He was no worse off than a lot of slot receivers in blocking. So they never telegraphed officially if they're going to run or pass the football with Gesecki being a slot receiver or a boundary receiver. So, guys, I'm going to close out the show saying I don't think the Dolphins are going to extend Mike Gesecki unless a couple of things happen. We know one of the things that will happen: an injury, a long-term sustained injury to one of our receivers, which we hope doesn't happen. But if it doesn't happen, I don't think the Dolphins are going to extend Mike Gesecki. I think they'll probably trade him before the deadline. Even then, they may not get an offer they like. They could say, you know what, I don't want a fifth round pick. What for? We'll just keep Gesecki and keep him for the rest of the year. Nothing wrong with that, having a quality player like that. But the bottom line is, guys, I don't think they're going to sign him, and I don't think he's going to have a big year. There's a lot of people out there. Forecast. There's some people forecast that Cedric Wilson will have a big year. I don't think so either. These two, as long as they're teammates and as long as they're relatively healthy, are going to be competing for targets. They're going to be competing for targets, and neither one of them will have that great big year unless one really steps out. And in my opinion, the only one that really can step up is Cedric Wilson because he is the more explosive player. And that, guys, little secret. Oh, shh, because Mike McDaniels only tells us Dolphin fans, right? He loves explosive players. He loves explosive players. And that, my friends, is not Mike Gesecki. Hopefully, guys, that I gave you a lot of information. Hopefully, you help you decide whether the Dolphins should keep or will keep Mike Gesecki. You may come to a different opinion, different conclusion, different stats to support your conclusion. I'm anxious to hear that in my regular show at Phins Fan Panel. Guys, I want to thank you and peace out.